Recording in progress.
Hello, I am Darcy Drager, the chair of the Morris County Democratic Committee, and we are here today with Jeff Grayzel, who is screening for the CD11 special election. And welcome, Jeff. Thank you so much for joining us today. Before we get started, I'm going to ask our attending screening committee members to introduce themselves so you know who is on the call and listening. So we will start with Donna.
Hi, Jeff. As you know, I am the mayor of Morris Township. I also sit on the Morris Township Democratic Committee, and I am a district rep.
Thank you. Tim.
Hi, Jeff. Mayor Tim, Morristown, your neighbor, and also the vice chair of the local Democratic Committee.
Excellent. Shari.
Hi, Jeff. I'm Shari Seffer, and I am the municipal chair of the Montville Township Democratic Committee. Welcome.
Christine.
Hi, Jeff. Christine Clark, State Democratic Committee member. Vice chair in Jefferson and a recent state Senate candidate.
Okay. Judy.
Hi, Jeff. Parsippany Council member and vice chair of the Parsippany Democratic Committee.
And Sandra.
Hi, Jeff. I'm Sandra Whitner, council member in the town of Dover.
Excellent. And we also have our executive director, Adam Cohen, joining us, and he is running all of the Zoom details. So, Jeff, we're going to kick it right off with asking you about your vision and motivation. We'd love for you to tell us about yourself, what inspired you to run for Congress in CD11, and what is the core message you'd like to bring to voters?
Great. It's nice to see everybody, a lot of familiar faces. I'm happy to be here screening with you today and representing Morris County in this process. I am Jeff Grayzel, the deputy mayor of Morris Township. We have a township committee form of government where the mayor often rotates. Donna's been the mayor the last couple of years. In the last 6 years of my term on the township committee, I've served as mayor twice, 2 years, and deputy mayor 3 times, so often in a leadership capacity. As a reminder, I also was the very first Democratic mayor of Morris Township back in 2019. I like to say I've been fighting for Democrats for 22 years. I first got involved in 2003 when I was just a pissed off citizen here in Morris Township. Didn't like the way our town was run, didn't like the way I was treated as a resident. And I am a big believer that when you complain about something, you should do something about it yourself. And I stepped up and ran. And luckily in our town, we can run every single year. So I ran 5 times in a row before I won, but became the first Democrat to win in Morris Township since Watergate, and lost my reelection, won again, lost my reelection. And this past November, when I was on the ballot and won my 5th term, it was actually the very first time I had won 2 terms in a row. So I'd served 4 non-consecutive terms. The last time it was not consecutive is because I stepped up for Morris County Democrats and I ran for state senate in 2021. Big believer that when opportunity knocks, you have an opportunity to step through that door, or you can live the rest of your life wondering what might have happened. And I always take the step through the door and ran for state senate back in 2021, and taking that same opportunity here today to step up and represent Morris County Democrats, who I've been working for a long time. I say that becoming mayor in 2019 was a transformational experience for me as a person, as a leader, because all of a sudden I understood how you can do a lot of good when you're in a position of power. And as mayor, you have power in your community. People ask you, what's your opinion, mayor? What are your priorities, mayor? And you can really set an agenda and move the needle in your town. And we did a lot of that in Morris Township. We changed the way we operated, changed the way we interacted with residents, always putting community first. And it's been very exciting, all the things that we've done as a team in Morris Township. But I also want to take you back to when I grew up. Grew up in New Jersey, in Englewood, in North Jersey, in Bergen County. And my mother was a special ed teacher. My dad was a doctor. My mother taught me how we need to care for disadvantaged communities or underprivileged communities through her special needs work. always reaching out to an autistic child when she saw them in the street and saying hello and engaging with them. She also helped start a nature preserve in my town, which is now called Flat Rock Brook Nature Center. It was just a little park, but they got together as an organization and acquired additional lands, and now it's an entire nature preserve. And I remember walking. It was just a couple of blocks from my house, walking with my mom through the park in the early stages of that with a bag, and we would go pick up garbage throughout the park, and she'd have the kids walk in the stream and pick up any garbage that was in the streams. We hopped from rock to rock, and it taught me how important nature is to us. I've taken the message of clean water with me ever since I was a child. Always trying to clean up the garbage in the water and making sure it was clean for not only the humans but the fish that swim in it. And it's always been revolved around community. My mom was always looking out for other people, and I've taken that with me. My dad was a doctor who was always looking for better ways to do things. He was cutting edge in his techniques as a doctor, and he became an inventor and tried to, and actually has numerous patents to his name, trying to make the medical device field and the medical field better for other people, and looking again for new ways to do things. He and I went into business later on, I should say. He and I went into business later on, and we patented a few devices together. But my dad did teach me how we should always try to find a way to do things better and make the world a better place, and not be satisfied with the status quo. Always to try to make things better and do things in a better way. So I've taken that with me throughout my journey also, and applied that in Morris Township. The other skills that I have is I went to Cornell University. I have undergraduate degrees in economics and engineering, in operations research engineering, which is math-based engineering. Started working at Bristol Myers Squibb doing international business development, traveling all over the world. I should say on the consumer side of that business, most people know Bristol Myers as a pharmaceutical company, but they had a massive consumer business, and we worked on building our brands around the world. So have a lot of experience starting new businesses in other countries, working cross-culturally, learning how to do business in other ways. Very important skill set, I think, that translates to Congress. Often we think of Congress as being US focused, but a lot of the work that gets done in Congress has an international focus as well. And I have that skill set. While I was at Bristol Myers, I went to graduate school at night. I went 5 years in a row, taking a class every semester, and I got my graduate degree in industrial engineering. And that's the application of that math to real world problems. And using that skill set in everyday life, I was been working at startups the last 20 years. And as mayor, always had that results-oriented focus, always looking to do things better, as I said before, and driving progress in my town. We've built a ton of infrastructure and refocused the way we do refocused a lot of the process work that we have in Morris Township. So my motivation for running for Congress is to fight for Democrats, as I've always fought for us for a long time. Use my skill set as an engineer, which I think is something that's needed down in Washington. We have way too many lawyers. With all due respect to lawyers, there's a lot of lawyers down in Washington, but we could use some more engineers and scientists down there who have that skill set. And lastly, as a Morris County Democrat, I say that I've been in this system for a long time, and I've always, quite honestly, with all of you in front of me, some of you will understand this. I felt like a second-class citizen at time in this state. Morris County is a Republican county, and so we don't get the respect I think that we deserve for the hard work that we've done. We haven't gotten a lot of money over the years, and I think that bringing this congressional seat to Morris County will give us the respect that we deserve as Morris County Democrats. And so my third motivation is to fight for us, right, as a group, as Morris County, to bring that congressional seat back home. Rodney used to have it here. Now it would be nice to have it as a Democratic seat, and bring that stature to all of us as Morris County Democrats. So fighting for all of you as well. So I'll leave it there and turn it back to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Jeff. Tim, first question.
Okay. Hey, Jeff, what are the top you plan to tackle if elected, and what specific solutions would you propose? Please move beyond describing problems and articulate actionable plans.
Great. So on the campaign trail, I talk about my 4 I's, which are innovation, infrastructure, immigration, and insurance premiums. And as an engineer, I'm a big believer in innovation. I told you I've been working at startups for the last 20 years. I look at our economy as a service-oriented economy right now. We all know that AI is coming. AI has taken over a lot of places already, and it's going to hammer, I believe, the service economy, which so many people rely on for their work. I don't think anybody's thinking about what happens to those people when the AI takes over, but I foresee an employment crisis coming in the next 5 years. I should step back and say one thing about engineers is we're always forward-looking. We always like to tackle problems before they break because we understand that when things break, they cost way more to fix than if you can take care of them ahead of time and work towards a goal for a solution. So, I see this employment crisis coming because of AI, and we need a new way forward. So my innovation economy platform says that we should be focusing on new technologies of the future. We used to be lead the world in new technologies and building new things. China's now taken over that mantle as the top new technologist in the world. We need to get that back. We need to focus more on STEM in the schools. We need to send more of our kids to graduate schools. An example I used is my son just graduated Columbia University with a graduate degree in engineering. Very proud of that. But 90% of his class was international students. Only 10% was from the United States. And, I'll talk about more of that on the immigration platform. Immigration ties into this in a lot of different ways. But one way that it ties in is that those 90% of kids in that graduating class, they all wanted to stay here, but we didn't have visas for them. So, these brightest kids who wanted to help, come to our country, stay here and build new businesses for us, we're sending back home. And we need to change that from an immigration perspective. But these kids are the drivers of the future of this innovation technology. So in terms of infrastructure, there's a lot of related things to that as well. We all know that energy prices are going up, and that's because there's huge demand on electricity right now because of the data centers primarily. And we need new ways of generating electricity. We knew this was coming, but we didn't tackle the problem ahead of time. We've been talking I don't know, Phil Murphy's been talking for 8 years about a clean energy economy and driving that by 2035. When you want to drive a clean energy economy, you better start building the energy that you need, when you start converting people over. So we're trying to get people to drive electric cars. And in Morris Township, we've been installing EV charging stations. We have an ordinance that's requiring buildings to be all electric, but now we don't have the electric supply. So infrastructure-wise, we need new energy sources. We need an electric grid that's up to speed. We have 20% energy loss across our grid. China has gotten it down to 3%. We're losing on that front too. But we need to reinvest in infrastructure that's going to support that innovation economy that I was talking about. And then with immigration, tying back into that, everybody knows we have an immigration problem in this country. The can's been kicked down the road for years. We had the bill a couple of years ago, and then Donald Trump told everybody not to vote for it, so they didn't vote for it. But we need to tackle that immigration problem because we need to fill jobs throughout our economy. But in terms of my solution to the immigration crisis, I think we need to look at what kind of jobs we need to fill and then structure an immigration policy around filling those jobs. All the way at the bottom, the mid-level jobs, we're running out of plumbers and electricians. For example, we need skilled labor at that level. But we also need those kids who want to stay in this country. We need the visas for the smart graduate students to stay in this country instead of sending them home. And then lastly, with the insurance premiums, everybody talks about affordability, but I see the affordability crisis being driven by insurance premiums. In Morris Township, as Mayor Donna knows, for 2 years in a row, we've had employees take home less pay because the amount of increases we can give them don't match the increases in the premiums that they also have to take on. And at the end of the day, they take home less pay. And that's happening across the country while prices are going up and causing an affordability crisis. But while everybody's talking about how we need to subsidize insurance premiums, there's not much talk that I've heard about tackling the actual core problems. Like, why are the premiums being driven up so high? Why are costs of medical care so high in this country? And as an engineer, I want to go and tackle the core problems driving the costs, as opposed to talking about the premium issues that have been dominating the debate so far. So that in a nutshell are the kinds of things I want to work on. I should say with the infrastructure and going back to the innovation economy and leaning into STEM, I think we need to reconstruct a lot of our schools. In Morristown and Morris Township, where we share a school district, we have a high school that's 107 years old. And one thing I say is we're teaching kids in a school building built in the last century for an innovation economy of the next century. And at some point, that school is going to break. And again, as a forward-looking engineer, I don't want it to see it break before we fix it. We should be forward-looking in how we're teaching our kids as well and providing the proper learning spaces for them.
Great, thank you so much. Donna.
So Jeff, this question is about experience and qualifications, and you've addressed some of this in your opening. So maybe add something different here. How does your background and professional experience prepare you to represent CD 11 effectively in Congress?
Yeah, I have. It's so being prepared for Congress is is a hard skill set and a soft skill set, right? There's the stuff that you learn in school. And I talked about me being an engineer and having that engineering mindset in terms of moving our town forward. But it's the soft skills that I talked about in terms of having been the mayor and learning and understanding what happens in my town on a day-to-day basis, and knowing what people need from their government, how things operate, the infrastructure that we have in our town, all the little problems that we have. Mayor Donner and I know that every day it seems to be a crisis of some kind in Morris Township, and that we have to put out a fire on. But understanding how things work on the ground level, having been the mayor here, and adding on those skills as an engineer, and I would add the additional skills of having that international business development experience, traveling literally all over the world. I didn't tell you that I started the Bristol-Myers consumer business in China. I have traveled to China 13 times. It's for two or 3 weeks at a shot, living in China, living in another country, and then working with people there to start up a business. Again, skill set working as a congressman in international affairs that I think is a skill set that translates well also, that not a lot of people have.
Thank you.
Great. Judy.
Hold on a minute. I'm sorry. I was just listening and I didn't realize that. Okay, electability and campaign strategy. What is your strategy to win the seat in the special election, including outreach to key voter groups in the district?
Well, my strategy is to get one more vote than the next person. That's what we're out to do, out to win every vote as I can. Obviously, I think my path to victory is through Morris County, where I have had people voting for me literally for over 20 years in the Morris Township area. People know me in Morristown and surrounding areas. I have a little bit of name recognition in Morris County for running for state senate, which has a great overlap with CD11. So hopefully people remember me from 4 years ago running for state senate and say, oh, or recognize that name. But leaning into my Morris County roots, particularly to win this election. But again, I think I have a message that resonates. I think I have a unique skill set as a mayor and an engineer and as a problem solver that will resonate with a key group of voters who are looking for something different, who are looking for people who can get things done in Washington. One thing I say is a lot of politicians talk and talk and talk, but they have problems executing. And as we've seen in Morris Township, we walk the talk. We get things done. We build things. We deliver for our residents. And I think that's a message that, as I said, a lot of voters will want to hear. It's a different perspective, different skill set. And I think I have that winning message.
Great, thank you. Shari.
Hi, Jeff. This question is with regard to leadership and collaboration. Congress requires negotiation and coalition building. Can you give a specific example from your career where you successfully worked across differences to achieve a goal?
Absolutely. So for the first part of that question, yes, we have differences and we need collaboration. But I just want to remind everybody again that, at my core, I've been fighting for Democrats for a long time. Been fighting for Democrats for 22 years here in Morris County. We flipped our town from red to blue. I've been working hard every single election season for all of us, and I think the results show. So I know how to fight. I know how to beat Republicans. I know how to stand up to people. And, most recently, uh, you all surely have read in the news, maybe the general population hasn't, how I boycotted the Essex County Convention because I felt I needed to stand up. I needed to stand up for a broken process, for what I thought was something that was rigged against everybody else, the way it was set up. And I stood up for us. I stood up for what I thought was right, stood up for democratic principles. And that's what I'm going to do first and foremost going down to Washington. But in terms of working across the aisle, I was the minority council member in Morris Township for 6 years, my first 6 years on the council there. And we had a huge critical decision to make where it required us to work across the aisle. And we had a 3-2 vote on an issue where I was the deciding vote, and that was merging our municipal court with 4 other towns to create a joint municipal court, which fast forward to this day is one of the most successful joint municipal courts in the state. But at the time, everybody knows with home rule, and we see it on over and over and over still to this day, everybody wants to keep what they have and not share services with adjoining municipalities. But we got it through. It was a 3-2 vote. We worked across the aisle to make sure that we set it up in a way that our employees were taken care of properly and that our residents were going to be served. And we ended up saving $250,000 a year approximately going with that joint court. So in hindsight, it was a great decision that we made. Everybody's really happy with it, but it took working across the aisle to get that done, and really proud that we did it.
Thank you. Christine.
Hi, Jeff. So I know you've touched on this a little, but please describe your efforts to help elect Democrats at the local, state, and federal levels.
Yeah, I mean, I've been that person. I've been the person helping to elect Democrats at the local level for a long time. Supporting my town, even in the years where I wasn't on the ballot, obviously, because we were trying to get more seats and gain the majority in Morris Township. But a lot of you have seen me work in other towns. I've been up in, my surrounding towns, Morris Plains, Randolph, and Mountain Lakes, supporting my fellow Democrats to help make a difference in their towns. Huge believer in knocking on doors. I love door knocking and engaging voters, and that's part of my plan in this election is to go out and again knock on a lot of doors. And I've done it for other people in other towns, and it's a great learning experience. You learn how other towns operate, and again, it's I guess I could look back and say that's part of the formula that prepares me for today, having knocked doors in other towns and supporting other people to understand the needs in their town. Most recently I knocked doors in Rockaway Township. I knocked doors this year in Parsippany, for the candidates up there. So really putting myself out there on behalf of Morris County Democrats over and over and over again.
Thank you.
Great. All right, so that brings us to the end of our first set of questions. Now I would like to ask you, you are currently running in the special election primary. Should you not be the nominee, will you still pursue the seat in the regular election cycle?
Oh, I haven't even crossed that bridge yet. I mean, I'm just so focused on February 5th that I haven't even looked beyond that. So I can't really answer that. I would consider it. It depends on I guess it would depend on the result, but sort of talking without really thinking it through a little bit. But we'll see. Whoever wins February 5th is going to have such an advantage going into June that I'm not really sure. Unless it was like a neck and neck situation, I'm not sure that I would. But again, just totally focused right now on February 5th.
Okay, thank you. One special question we have for all elected officials, and you are an incoming elected official, and you have, as you've outlined, been an elected official for many years. What legislation where you were the lead sponsor or one of the primary leaders of are you most proud of?
Uh, there are a couple of things. When the Democrats first gained control in Morris Township, we wanted to remake the way we did business in Morris Township. We wanted to engage the community more. And Kathy Wilson and I, who were the leadership when we first came on, I was the mayor in the first year, and she was the deputy mayor, and then we flipped roles in the second year. We worked very hard to engage the community and create new working groups that could support the community. So we created a new transportation advisory committee that was supposed to really focus on getting people out of their cars and onto their feet and connecting neighborhoods and connecting people to the recreational facilities in our town. So that was one example. We created an environment. We created an environmental and sustainability committee, which then morphed into a green team, which we didn't have before. We revamped we had previously had an economic development committee, which had shut itself down, and we brought that back to life, and it's really doing some great work these days. So that was one big thing that we brought all of these advisory committees on with people that had the skills to run those and give us advice on, again, moving our town forward. And I'm a big believer that I don't have the answers for everything, and we have to rely on experts and other people to help move us along. And whenever anybody says to me, "Can I help?" I always say, "Absolutely." Right? And we need as much help as we can get because we're all in this together, right? It's one big community, and we want everybody to feel good that way. That was one broad thing that we did. More specifically, I led the charge on installing EV charging stations in my town because I'm a big believer in that clean energy future for a lot of reasons. We talk about clean air and the need for getting off of fossil fuels. But taking that broad picture, that broad scope view of energy, and looking at it as a congressman, I also view going to clean energy as a way of reducing war around the world. Can you imagine if Russia didn't have the fossil fuel dollars that they had, if Iran didn't have the fossil fuel dollars that they have, if we reduced demand for those fossil fuels around the world, there'd be less of these bad guys who have money to start wars. So always taking that big picture view. But we pushed forward an ordinance in Morris Township where we required all new commercial development to have EV charging stations at a certain requirement per parking space ratio. And now we have EV charging stations all over Morris Township, which I'm really proud of.
Excellent, thank you. Your candidate-specific question is, you opposed a $10 million federally funded road project that county officials supported, saying that it would worsen traffic for Morris Township. How would you defend rejecting that grant when CD11 needs major infrastructure investment? And what does that decision tell voters about your approach to leveraging federal funds?
Great. So I love that question because because it's not that I oppose that. I am always looking for a better way to do things. I said that from the outset. And there is a better way to work on that intersection. So if you're familiar with that intersection where 24 comes into 287, the biggest problem with that intersection is the massive backup of cars trying to get from Route 24 westbound onto 287 northbound. The traffic at rush hour is just crazy because it all goes down to one lane. The amount of pollution from idling cars, it's really interesting. Cars pollute more when they idle than when they drive. And we create this parking lot every day on Route 24. And if we want to invest in road infrastructure at that intersection, I would put that $10 million towards reducing the pollution and the backup on 24 by widening the exit off of 24 onto 287, rather than putting all of that money to build a whole new flyover that is going to prevent maybe 20 accidents a year. And listen, they're not major accidents. Nobody's died there. But the money is, I think, is being used in the wrong place at that terrible intersection. And listen, I also believe, I told you, idling cars pollute more than moving cars. We have seen the success of traffic circles all over the state, including in Morristown. Morristown put a traffic circle in, and thank you, Mayor Tim, for doing this, that reduced backups in so many directions heading into the traffic circle that we all now love, I think. And traffic flows unbelievably well. People are not stopped at traffic lights. They are not polluting by having an idling car. And I think the solution for that intersection, instead of spending $10 million on a flyover, is that we have a big traffic circle there, that traffic can flow in all directions every single moment of the day. And at the same time, using that money to reduce the tremendous backlog on 24 of traffic at rush hour every single day that people hate. So it's not that I oppose, investing money in infrastructure. I love investing money in infrastructure, but I want to do it smartly, and I want to tackle the biggest problems, not tackle the smallest problems. So that's what I'm trying to do with that intersection by opposing that and saying that we need to be reappropriating those funds elsewhere at that intersection.
Great. Thank you so much for that very thoughtful answer. We are now moving on to our very brief policy lightning round, which is just a yes, no check on various Democratic policy platform issues.
Okay, you ready, Jeff, for your lightning round?
Okay.
Do you support access to affordable health care for all, including protections for pre-existing conditions?
That's
Yes,
a hard lightning question, because I believe in basic health care for all. I'm not sure that we can afford Medicare for all, and I really haven't looked at the numbers in order to give an actual answer whether I support Medicaid for all, but I absolutely support basic health care for everybody, including pre-existing conditions.
Okay. Do you support policies that promote racial, gender, and LGBTQ plus equity?
Absolutely.
Do you support policies to address climate change and expand clean energy?
I live it every day and do it every day, yes.
Do you support reproductive rights, including a woman's right to choose?
Absolutely.
Do you support protecting and expanding voting rights?
Absolutely.
And last, do you support comprehensive immigration reform, including a path to citizenship for undocumented immigrants?
Absolutely. For the undocumented immigrants, I didn't talk about that on my immigration. Sorry if I'm going to talk a little bit more. There are people who've been living here for 20 years. I actually spoke to one of them this morning. She's raised a family here. She admits to being an illegal alien, illegal immigrant 20 years ago. But she's part of our fabric of our society. There absolutely needs to be a path to citizenship for these people who are with us, who are our neighbors. Yes, absolutely.
Great, thank you.
All right, now we are going to move into screening committee follow-ups. Shari, I think that you have a question.
I do. Thank you. Jeff, what issues do you believe specifically relating to the towns in Morris County that you would like to address as part of your platform besides Morris Township? I know there's
yeah. So more New Jersey in general, it's a very old state, right? With very, very old infrastructure, and the roads that we have are the roads that we have. But I think there are better, again, leaning into infrastructure. One thing I really hate are traffic lights, and that's why I talked about the traffic circle before. I love traffic circles and hate traffic lights. But I think we need to invest more in traffic lights to keep the traffic moving, and again, having cars idle less. Traffic lights need to, this is like we're in 2025. Like traffic lights can talk to each other. They can know when traffic's coming and when traffic's not coming. And I think that an investment I would make locally here in Morris County that I would love to see is an investment in the traffic light infrastructure to keep traffic moving all the time. We're all sitting in too much traffic, losing a lot of people hours of productivity, losing time with our families, and being late for things. So if you want to see an improvement locally, that's where I would do it.
Thank you.
Sorry, I muted myself. Does anyone else have any questions?
Yes, I do have a question. So Jeff, there's been a few reports of you writing public letters and press releases saying the process was rigged in other counties. For example, you were the only candidate to not compete in the Essex County Convention. How can we be sure that if you are not successful in winning this convention, you won't display similar behaviors towards the Morris County Democratic Committee?
Well, as I stated in the beginning of it, the reason why, a big reason why I'm here is for Morris County, to fight for us, to fight for the things that I fought with beside all of you on this screen for years and years and years, to bring that seat back, bring that congressional seat back to Morris County where it used to be, but bring it as a Democratic seat, bring us some stature in the state, and have a seat at the table in the Democratic Party here in the state. And I was really upset at the way I was treated. Listen, we were in the middle of trying to get signatures to be on the ballot, right? And it was a very compressed timeline. I understand they want to fill Mikey's seat in Congress, but they didn't need to make us do it over a long holiday weekend to force an election on a Thursday. If they had just waited till the following, put the election on the following Tuesday, we could have had 4 more days for petition signatures. But they didn't do that, and I think they did that for a reason, to make it hard for candidates, to make sure that some lesser funded candidates couldn't meet that hurdle of being on the ballot. And on top of that, then Essex County notified me on Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, when I took a day off. I literally took a day off because I needed a break, and that's when I got the notification for a meeting that was on Tuesday. So I think that was done on purpose also. They could have let us know well before Thanksgiving when their convention was going to be, but they compressed it on purpose. And so I did think that it was rigged against not just me, it was rigged against all the other candidates. And listen, I stood up for us. I stood up for democracy. I stood up for Democrats and said that I wasn't going to stand for it. And so that's what I did. And I'm going to do that down in Washington. I'm going to stand up for all of us. When I don't think something's right, I'm going to be outspoken. And I stood strong. I stood strong in that moment, and everybody else showed up at that debate. And so it shows a little bit of difference between the way I handle myself and maybe the other 12 candidates handled themselves. Listen, I'm here for us. I told you I want to bring that seat back to Morris County. This is where I've raised my family. It's where I've lived for 28 years of my life. I love it here. I'm doing it for all of us.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, Jeff, I'm going to ask a question that John Aiden, who is not able to join us today, has posed to candidates. And it is, running for office can be grueling. It is a lot of work. It's a big lift. It can be like mentally, emotionally draining. What about this do you enjoy? What makes you happy in this process?
So I started off by telling you, about my parents and what got ingrained in me, and which was what my mom did was teach me about community, the importance of community, the importance of doing things for other people who sometimes can't do it for themselves, but also creating something special for that other people can enjoy, which is like what she did was create the nature preserve. But I love community. I love bringing people together. I do that in a lot of my work. I didn't tell you that I'm on the boards of a lot of different organizations, on top of being the mayor, right? And on top of actually having a job. And I'm on the board of the Great Swamp Watershed Association. I'm on the board of Museum of Makers and Innovators, which is a group trying to bring a children's museum to New Jersey. I am on the board of a special needs organization called SNAP here in Morristown, Special Needs Athletic Program supporting the special needs community. I'm on the board of my synagogue, and I'm on the board of Community Relations Council of Jewish Federation, which works on an interfaith and intercultural basis to bring people together. So many of the things that I do in my life revolve around community, and I love that kind of work. I think that people of Morris Township have loved the things that we put in place. We talked about the infrastructure we built in Morris Township and building the sidewalks that bring community together, allow people to go from place to place, but also allow people to walk in their own neighborhoods and meet each other. And all of these things revolve around that core value of bringing community together. And it's why I'm doing this. I'm doing this as a representative of the people. I've always said that I'm here to represent my residents. That's why we changed the way we took input for people, because I'm representing them. I'm not there to tell everybody what they want. I'm there for them to tell me what they want. And that's what I want to take to Washington. I want to listen to the people. I want to execute on what they want to see for their country. And, and listen, hopefully bring our country back together. It's so fractured and it's so sad. And I think all of us hate it on both sides of the aisle. You know, in every one of our towns, we live with Republicans. We go to baseball games with them and do great things. But when we get into politics, we all fight with each other. So I think if we focus a little bit more on community in general, we could bring a lot of people back together again.
Great. Thank you, Jeff. Well, I don't think we have any other questions. And so we appreciate all of the details and the policy and what you've shared with us about your campaign and your vision. So give you an opportunity, you know, to close it out. What's the last thing we should be thinking about when we think about you running for CD11?
I think that I'm just different than all the other candidates. I think you have a unique choice in choosing Jeff Grayzel, based on the skill set that I have as an engineer, based on the experience I have as a mayor, and based on that community focus. All of those things, when you bring them together, I think it is a special kind of thing that voters want. I'm here to serve. I give up a lot to be the mayor of my town. I give up a lot to serve on these different boards and committees. But I do it because I love giving back and I love serving my people. And a lot of people say, Jeff, why are you the mayor? Like, aren't you getting tired of being the mayor, right? Or deputy mayor or being on the town council? Like, why don't you just hang it up already? And I say, okay, well, who else do you want to do it? Right. And they say, I don't know. And they said, just give me a name. And they can't give me a name. And I said, well, how about me? And they say, well, we love you and the way we love you, the way you operate. So yeah, we're happy with you. And that's why I do it, because somebody has to do the work. And I think I have the skill set and the mindset and the energy and the drive and the core value of community that I think a lot of people are looking for. And I hope every voter in CD11 will hear that. I hope it'll come through, that I am a genuine person in this for the right reasons, trying to do good for my community, not out for any political reason. I just think I can be a really good congressman. And I've been so proud to serve the people for so long in my community. I hope people hear that. I hope they have the chance to hear that on the campaign trail. I'm a sincere and genuine person, and you don't really find that in Washington, I don't think. We'll see when I get there. But yeah, appreciate the opportunity to speak with everybody. I won't get to meet every single voter in CD11, unfortunately. But I hope many of you who watch this video will take away that I'm your candidate of choice. I'll do a good job, and I promise to work really, really, really hard for everybody.
Great. Thank you so much, Jeff. It's been great to hear from you, to learn more about your campaign, your candidacy, and we look forward to seeing you next Sunday at the special election nominating convention for Morris.
Great. And if I could say just thanks to all of you for putting in your time on this committee. It's really important work that we all do. And you've spent a lot of time screening all these candidates. So thanks for the good work that you do also.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye, everybody.